15 different styles of envelopes with just one folding technique and no need for any special tools or equipment, just scissors and some glue. Hello everyone, it's Dragana at Saacibo. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. This is another episode of making ephemera from scratch, and today we're going to be making envelopes. Yay, my favorite. I'm going to show you a slightly different technique from the one that I usually do, and I really love this one because with this one technique I was able to come up with 15 different styles of envelopes, and I didn't need any special tools or equipment. I'm going to be using the papers I dyed with food coloring. You can use whatever you like. So we'll just be folding envelopes today, if that's okay with you. I find that really addictive. Anyway, let's just start. You can make these any size you want. If you want big ones, use a full A4 size paper. If you want smaller ones, use half, even smaller, use quarter. You can make them horizontal or landscape version. You can make them portrait or upright version, totally up to you. If you want to make them all the same size, you can cut yourself some templates from recycled packaging like I have here, and they can be your guide to creating envelopes that are all the same size. But I don't really like doing that. I more like whatever. But I'll show you at least one example how you can do this with a template. Let's start with a simple one, and we'll build up the design as we go. So I'm going to use this paper. This is A5 size, half of A4, perhaps like so. And then I want to fold over. That's my flap. Okay, I usually leave about that much. All right. So now I do this, I fold here. Take my scissors and cut. Just at an angle like that. Okay. Now I fold this way, and I use the previous cut as a guide. Okay. To cut the same here. Just move these papers to the side, and this is what I end up with. Okay. So what I need to do now is fold these, and it's easy if you have something here to fold over. You don't have to, but it's just easier if you have something straight. For example, like this piece of cardstock that you can use to fold over. Like so. You end up with that. Take the envelope and I fold that way. Now I need to cut off this part, and you can cut it straight here if you wanted to, but I just go a little bit in. It just looks better once it's finished, and it allows me a little bit of room, because if I try to make it perfectly straight, it's just not going to work. And this way it looks good. So just like so. Okay, as you can see, I took a little bit more on top than on the bottom, and so when I fold it, that's what I end up with. It's just going in a little bit here and there. And the same applies to the top part. Again, I just start here and like so. And there it is. Now you can ink this. So all I do now is just add the glue here and there, and just a little bit there. Spread the glue and my envelope is done. A bit more of the ink. And that's it. So that's It's the one with just straight edges, nothing fancy, just a regular envelope. All right, now let's do another one. I'm going to cut this in half. I'm going to start the same as I did before. I'm going to fold that. I might go a little bit lower now, just for fun. I'm going to fold that and then fold this. The same as I did before. Now I'm going to fold here. And then cut on an angle there. Open it up. Fold again and use the previous cut as a guide and cut the corners off. Open it up like so. Okay, then we fold that way. And now remember how we would just cut straight? Now we'll just do this. We're going to start cutting straight, but when we get to the end, we'll just curve the cut a little bit, like so. All right. And the same here. Let's ink. Just glue this. A little bit of glue here, a little bit there, and some over there. Fold, press. Here it is, style number 2 with rounded corners. I'll just use the same paper. The beginning of this folding technique is always the same at the start, but only in several examples it's going to be slightly different, but so far we're doing the same thing at the start. Okay, we are going to now start cutting into that part too. So I'm going to cut here just straight, similar to the first example. And then I'm going to cut it like so. Okay, just on an angle a little bit. So I'm going to end up with this shape. Okay, and you see how here now these things are sticking out. You can leave that if you don't mind, or you can just cut a little bit more and then they're hidden. All right, and then with the top bit we are going to cut that way, just like in the first example, and then from approximately there to here into a point. So now when we fold, this is what we end up with. Let's ink that. And then we just glue that. Put a little bit there, a little bit there, and just fold it. And that's our style number 3. And I'm going to cut this paper in half again. I kind of like that size. It's really useful for me, but I do make them smaller occasionally or larger. Okay, I'm going to start the same. So far we did the same as we did before. Now we're going to cut here. Again, the same as in the first example, like so. But over here, instead of cutting to a point, we're just going to curve it a little bit. Just round it. All right. Do that. And then we just curve that inward a little bit. Okay, so you have that and you have that. Here I can go a little bit deeper so that I don't see these. Let's ink that. Glue. And style number 4. You know what's gonna be fun? Decorating these once they're all nicely folded and put together. Okay, let's do another one. This time we're going to curve, but instead of curving it inward, we're going to do it outward, starting everything the same as we did before. Once you make enough of these, you'll be able to do it with your eyes closed, I think. It just becomes like one of these things that you do without thinking, like riding a bicycle. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, instead of cutting straight and then curving here, I'm going to cut all the way here and then curve it that way. Perhaps I can draw a line so that you can see better. When I do it, I usually don't draw, but I will. So instead of going all the way up, I'm going to start curving here and then going up, like so. On this side, I'll do the same. I could even fold that and follow. Can do that, or I can even just draw like so. Okay, so just do that. We need to cut this a little bit in. It just looks better, I think. I think I originally started doing this because I don't like doing the same thing more than once. So each time I'd fold an envelope, I'd do something different. I'm the same with, for example, recipes. I have a recipe for something, for a cake or a meal or whatever, but I've never followed it completely, and I would always do something different just to see what would happen. I don't know why I do that, but I do. So I'm the same with these envelopes or anything else in my art. Love that one. Okay, so that one was inward and that one was outward. Both nice in their own way. Okay, let's do something fancy now. Fold it just like we did before. Now we fold. Here we're going to do just something fun. once we get here, we're going to curve. And then maybe do another little curve. Let's see if we made anything interesting. All right, it's a little bit like so. Love it. Now the top bit, I'm gonna start by drawing with the pencil just so that you can see better what I'm doing. So I usually just go straight, but on an angle like that. Now here I'm going to curve it, and then I'm going to add another curve there and finish into a point. Okay, so curving it there, then curving again, and so I guess by now you can see what I'm doing here. I'm doing the same technique at the start, and just by experimenting a little bit with cutting the top part and bottom part, I'm ending up with a different style of envelopes. That's all it is. But the rest of the technique is the same for all of them. Love that one. Okay, by now you know this part, so I'm just going to do it quickly. And here, if you happen to have some of the fancy paper cutters or fancy scissors or zigzag scissors, you can use them. I'm going to start by cutting with these ones. I have these scalloped scissors, so I'll now open this up and cut with them. Okay. All right. I'm going to bring that in a bit. The same applies to the top. It's ink. Totally different than the previous one, isn't it? Okay, what paper should we take? Let's take the purple one. Again, we're going to start the same as before. There is a saying in my country that when you repeat something so many times, that even the birds will start to sing that song. So I guess I've repeated this so many times now that even the birds should start saying that. Fold here, cut there. I don't know how else to explain. I just have to repeat. Okay, I'm going to cut that there. Now I'm going to round the edges here. I'm going to leave that just like so. Won't do anything else to it. But then with this part, I want to have some fun. I'm going to start off by just cutting straight like that. And imagine if that part here was a raw edge or uneven looking paper, I would probably leave it uneven, but you can also just have fun and make it wavy or shorter here, longer there or something. So for example, something like that. I think when you do this, eventually you will find that you tend to do it a certain way more often, and that's probably going to end up being your style. So you might combine a few of these styles into one. You might cut that differently and then that differently, and then you'll see what kind of sits with you. And you might even come up with something that's uniquely yours, like a signature envelopes. Love this one. Okay, I'm gonna use this paper. We're going to start here the same, but when it comes to cutting those corners, we're going to do it a little bit different. All right, I'm going to cut here like so, but instead of cutting there the same, I'm going to cut a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to fold and draw, but I will cut more. I'm not going to cut the same. Okay, you'll see in a second why. All right, probably something like that. Okay, so as you can see, this here is much bigger than that. So when I place my piece of cardstock, it's not straight, it's on an angle. Okay, I'll just mark over there so I know how deep I should go, because it's not straight anymore, so it's a little bit more tricky to do. But now I know I'm not supposed to go any, but I'm gonna round it here a little bit and then just go into that corner. Okay, so yeah, that looks all right now. And then the same here, I'm going to just mark there. And for the top bit, I think I want to do that style. Okay, like so, then round it, and then into a point. But have a look at this now. Does that remind you of a handbag? So I call this a handbag style envelope. And you can make these even tinier to turn them into little charms or little embellishments. Add the glue. But have a look at this. I'm going to do a variation of this, and we're going to end up with something else. So we're going to start the same, and then at the top we're going to cut a bit less than at the bottom, doing the opposite from what we've done there. Okay, I'm going to fold this over. I'm just going to do that just so I know where I'm supposed to end, because now that part is wider than that, and if I cut straight I'll miss that, so I have to think about that. So I'm just going to mark. There. And then over here, I'll just do something fun, perhaps like so, and maybe a slight curve here, just for fun. Nice. And then over here to mark. What can we do at the top? I'll just cut straight. I'll round here and just like so. What does that remind you of? It can also be like a bag or a clutch, but the shape reminds me of a flower pot. Love them. All right. As I mentioned at the start, with any of these, you can make them landscape or can make them portraits. All right. So again, we just fold and cut the same. So far, I've done everything the same as we've been doing with all the other ones. Now, just the finishing bit, I can leave it straight as we've done in the first example. I can round the corners to end up with that. I can do this, that, any of these. Okay, just like so. Ink. Glue. Let's do one with a book page. I really want to do this one with a book page. So I'm going to start the same as I normally do. So far, all the same. I could cut this, or I can tear these edges, perhaps with the help of a ruler. We can have that a little bit grungy look. We do the same here. Cool. And then I'll just do this. Just Thorn Edge look. Like that, and I could do the same here. Inking would make it stand out a little bit better. well. Really love that uneven torn edge look. Okay, let's do another one. Now, apart from playing with that edge there and that one, you can also play a little bit with the side edges here. Let's do one like that. Let's play with that. Let's see what we can make there. Start the same. Fold the same. Okay, apart from just cutting straight like we normally do, you can do the curve inward or curve outward. Let's do the outward. I'll just mark here. Finish there. Just do that. Something like that. Just curve that a bit there. Nice. I could also curve this part. I think it would look nice. Lovely. And then I'll just mark that there. Perhaps like so. Let's ink. I'm going to use this piece for the next one. This one is meant to have a really long flap. So instead of folding like that and like so, I'm going to fold all the way. So I'm going to fold it in 3, something like that. Okay. Like so. Gonna go straight and maybe like so. Okay, and then top it, put a mark here, and maybe I'll just take it like so, just to a point here. Okay, let's ink it. I think you should feel confident by now to make these yourself. Choose the style that you really like and just go with it. I really love that one. There's one more I want to show you. It's number 15. I'm going to use this paper. We start the same again. We fold. And now when we cut the corner, instead of cutting that much, we're going to cut about that much. Approximately twice more than usual. Okay? Something like that. So we just take a big chunk. And it will become clear when we start folding. Okay. And you know how normally we fold that part and we cut those two. Now what we do, we cut those two and we fold this one. Okay. So I'm gonna go here a little bit in, and then over here I'll just go straight. I'm going to leave that one there. Okay, I'm going to just fold like so towards the inside. You see how the flap is a lot bigger now. And over here, the idea is to divide approximately this width here in 3 parts. Approximately. So something like this. And then you start folding. You first fold there, like so, and then the second one back to the inside. All right, so that's what you end up with. So the first one here, you can pinch it like that, turn it around, press, and then you bring it back in. And we can do one of the examples from before. I don't think I've shown you this one. You'll see what it looks like. Looks like lips. And then we can cut this bit here like so. We don't need it that high. And we also need to cut the top bit. Earlier we cut that straight, so I'm just going to go a little bit in, and then I'm gonna go round like so and like so, just for fun. All right. Okay, nicely inked, and then we add the glue only here to that part of that fold, just to that last bit, not the whole thing. And then you just press. So this is what happens. You end up with a little envelope with a gusset. Okay, so that's the variation number 15. I'm sure you can come up with another 15 just as easily. You just combine all of these and do different things. You'll end up with a variety of different envelopes with this same method. I said at the start I will show you how to use templates if you want to make them the same. And I have one piece of paper left. I'm going to cut it in half. That one would be perfect. Okay, so you just fold over the template and you will end up with the same size envelope. Perhaps the flap is not going to be the same, or the bottom bit, but nonetheless you'll end up with the same size of the envelope. And then when you fold here, you will have the fold lines as the guide, how much to cut there and how much to cut there. And if you find that is easier for you, just keep doing that. So here they are. I've spread them out like this so that we can see better what they look like. Oh, it's going to be so much fun decorating them. I've also prepared another freebie for you, which is this one. They are my nature cards. That's what I call them, nature cards. They probably should be the right size for these envelopes, maybe a little bit bigger. You can also print them 2 to a page or 4 to a page to end up with smaller label size stickers like I've done here. I think they can be then used to decorate these envelopes. If you happen to have some of the border punches like that one, you can even have fun with that and say, do that. Create a nice lace design like so. How cool is that? If you don't have any of the fancy punches, but you have this one, just the round one, you can still have fun just punching holes around, creating a different look altogether. Look at that. Just with a round punch. How cool is that? Love that. And so on. These are just some examples. Just have fun and do something with them that will make them uniquely yours. And several hours later, here they are. I had a lot of fun decorating them. Sorry I couldn't fit it all into the video. I will leave the decorating to you. Anyway, if you've already started making some while watching this video, I hope you have lots of fun. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.